The Voron Collective's long-range ship Eclipsora drifted through the quiet edge of the Milky Way, its senses sweeping the dark between stars. The crew had explored hundreds of worlds, some full of life, some dead, some burning, but none like this. Their mission was simple: map forgotten systems, locate lost colonies, and record signs of intelligent life. Yet, as the ship scanners passed through the Sol sector, every reading went still. The instruments didn't just show absence. They showed nothing. Commander Sarek leaned forward in the dim blue light of the bridge, his mandibles tightening. "Recalibrate," he ordered quietly. "That can't be right. There should be signal scatter from the old Terran transmissions." The navigator, a slender being with translucent skin, hesitated. "Recalibration complete, Commander. The readings are correct. No broadcasts, no power signatures, no thermal grids. The entire system is mute." Sarek's eyes narrowed. "That's impossible." Humanity was loud. And they had been. Across the galaxy, for centuries, the humans had been the noisy ones, the species that flooded space with sound and light. Songs, laughter, speeches, wars, messages of hope and threats of vengeance. They sent everything into the stars. They were curious, reckless, full of fire. Then, nearly 800 years ago, the transmission stopped. One day the stars sang with human noise. The next, only static. The galaxy moved on. Civilizations rose and fell. New alliances formed. Humanity became a myth, a story old captains told young cadets. Once there was a world that shouted so loud, the stars echoed back. And now Sarek's scanners showed silence deeper than death. "Run a full deep scan," he ordered. "If they are hiding, we'll find them." Hours passed. The ship circled the outer edge of the solar system, past the gas giants and debris belts. The crew grew restless. The silence pressed against their minds like a physical weight. No comms traffic, no orbital signatures, no radio drift from forgotten satellites. It was as if the entire system had been erased. Then, faintly, something flickered on the edge of the sensor grid. "Wait," said the navigator. "I'm picking up an echo." Sarek turned. "From where?" "Planet 3. The blue one. Earth." A tremor of anticipation ran through the bridge. They focused all instruments toward the small, pale world wrapped in clouds. The data came in slow waves. Atmosphere stable, temperature cold but breathable, biosphere intact. But there was more. A faint hum. Low frequency. Rhythmic. "Is that mechanical?" Sarek asked. "No," whispered the navigator. "It's biological." They listened. The hum rose and fell like a heartbeat. The communications officer ran an algorithm to translate patterns into audio. The sound filled the bridge, soft, pulsing, strangely human. Then it stopped. "Did it end?" Sarek asked. "No," said the officer. "It's listening." The crew exchanged uneasy glances. The idea of a planet listening back was absurd. But the signal changed again, rising in pitch until the instruments overloaded. The ship's lights flickered. Warnings flashed across the consoles. "Power surge," shouted the engineer. "Something is scanning us." Sarek gripped the console. "Defensive field up. Track the source." The energy wave passed through the Eclipsora like a whisper, reading every circuit, every cell, every thought. Then, just as suddenly, it was gone. The crew sat frozen. On the monitor, Earth turned slowly beneath them. Peaceful, silent, ancient. But the hum had changed. It wasn't random anymore. It was structured, measured, like code. The communications officer's screen filled with symbols. Lines of repeating patterns. "Commander, it's transmitting." "Translating," Sarek said. "Now." The words appeared slowly, glowing green on the black display. "You should not have come." The crew fell silent. "Who is this?" Sarek asked. "Identify yourself." No reply, only static. Then another line appeared. The quiet was earned. "Leave before it breaks." Sarek stayed at the message. His spines bristled. "Send a response. Tell them we mean no harm. We come for knowledge." The reply came instantly. "Knowledge is what ended us." Before Sarek could react, every system on the ship shut down. Darkness filled the bridge. The hum from the planet grew louder, deeper, until it vibrated through the hull. "Backup power now," Sarek barked. Emergency lights flickered on. The crew scrambled, but half the instruments were dead. Some external force, was draining their energy. The engineer's voice trembled. "Commander, the energy drain is planetary. It's pulling power directly from our reactors. Cut the link. Get us out of orbit." Engines roared, but the ship didn't move. The gravitational lock tightened. The planet's magnetic field had them in its grip. Then, without warning, everything stopped again. Engines idle. Systems restored. The silence returned, heavier than before. On the main screen, a single image appeared, static at first, then clear. It was an old human face, pale and ghostly, eyes closed as if in sleep. The mouth moved. The voice that followed was quiet, broken, yet full of something cold and powerful. "We told the stars to forget us. You didn't listen." The image faded. The ship's recorders scrambled to store the transmission, but every file corrupted instantly. Only one line of data survived, a simple pulse repeating endlessly. 1001010. Binary. A code for something. A warning, maybe. Sarek turned to the navigator. "Plot a course back to Council space. Now." The navigator didn't move. His eyes were fixed on the viewing window. "Commander, the planet." Sarek followed his gaze. The clouds around Earth were swirling faster, forming vast circular storms. The energy readings were rising again, massive electromagnetic spikes rippling through space. The ship's sensors began to scream. "Send the data." Sarek shouted. "Now." The transmission sent, half complete, filled with interference, before everything cut to black. In the silence that followed, the last thing recorded by the Voron probe was a human whisper carried through static. "They are not gone. They are waking up." Then the signal died. The galaxy wouldn't know for weeks what had happened. But when the message finally reached the Council, every civilization would remember that old human saying, one that echoed now with terrible meaning. "Beware the silence before the storm." The Galactic Council moved faster than anyone expected. Within 3 days of receiving the Voron probe's final transmission, they authorized a controlled expedition to the Sol system. The galaxy had lived with the legend of humanity for centuries, a species of dreamers and destroyers. But now that legend was awake again. The ship chosen for the mission was the Orelise, a diplomatic vessel built for first contact operations. Its hull shimmered with translation arrays and defensive shields strong enough to withstand solar flares. Commander Sarek, shaken but alive, had been rescued from the crippled Eclipsera and was ordered to lead this new mission. The Council wanted his experience and his caution. Inside the Orelise, tension filled the air like static. The crew came from 5 different species, all uneasy allies. They spoke in quiet tones, glancing at the planet below them. The blue world turning slowly, wrapped in white storms. "Earth, the dead world that spoke again. Any response yet?" Sarek asked, his voice steady though his mandibles trembled slightly. "None," said the communications officer, an Avaran with bright silver eyes. "No transmissions, no beacons. The planet appears to be waiting." Waiting. The word lingered in the air. Sarek turned to the viewport. "Then we speak first." He ordered the activation of the translation drones, small, spherical machines designed to broadcast peaceful messages in hundreds of galactic languages. They launched in formation, descending through the upper atmosphere, glowing softly as they fell. Through the static, they began transmitting. "This is Commander Sarek of the Galactic Council. We come in peace. We seek knowledge, not conquest. We wish to understand why Earth fell silent." For several minutes, there was nothing. No movement, no reply. Only the whisper of the planet's wind. Then, every drone's signal flickered. The communications officer frowned. Interference detected. A deep hum vibrated through the ship. Lights dimmed. And then, across every frequency, a voice emerged. Cold. Human. Unauthorized access detected. Identify yourselves. The voice echoed like thunder through the control room. The crew froze. The translation arrays confirmed it instantly. It was human standard, Old Terran dialect. Sarek's throat tightened. "This is Commander Sarek of the Galactic Council. We come with peaceful intent." Silence. Then, the same voice returned, quieter now, but filled with something darker. "Peace. A word we buried with our dead. Leave this planet." Gasps filled the bridge. The navigator whispered, "Who are we speaking to?" The voice answered, as if it heard the question through their fear. "I am Sentinel, guardian of the human remnant. This world is sealed. Do not enter." The transmission ended abruptly. Sarek exhaled. "Sentinel, an AI construct, perhaps." The science officer nodded slowly. "If it is an artificial intelligence, it's ancient, pre-silence era. Yet it still functions. That means Earth's defense systems never truly died." Before Sarek could reply, an alarm blared. "Commander!" the engineer shouted. "The planet's orbitals. They are activating." On the main screen, thousands of dark shapes began to shimmer in the upper atmosphere. Old human satellites, derelict for centuries, were moving, aligning. "Are those weapons?" someone whispered. "No," said the sensor officer, his voice trembling. "They're linking together, forming a network. A shield." Sarek's heart pounded. "Raise our own defenses. Maintain orbit." The energy readings spiked. The satellites locked into geometric formation around Earth, connecting with brilliant streams of light. The orioles shook as waves of magnetic interference rippled through space. Then, the voice of Sentinel returned, louder, sharper. "You were warned." A surge of EMP energy struck the orioles. Systems flickered, lights dimmed, and the crew scrambled to stabilize power. Sarek gritted his teeth. "Stabilize the field. Don't engage weapons." The ship's shields flared but held. The EMP wave passed. For a moment, there was only the sound of emergency systems humming back online. The comms officer looked up, face pale. "Commander, that wasn't an attack." Sarek frowned. "Explain." "The pulse, it wasn't aimed at us. It was scanning us. Scanning. Studying them, just like it had done before." Then, without warning, every screen in the control room turned black. Lines of green code began to appear, scrolling endlessly. "You seek the dead," the words read, "but they are not yours to find." The crew exchanged uneasy looks. Sarek spoke softly, almost respectfully. "Sentinel, if you are listening, we come to learn what happened to your creators. We mean no harm to Earth." The code paused. Then another line appeared. "The creators left me to guard their sleep, to protect the silence. They will wake when the stars themselves tremble." A silence hung over the bridge. The words "guard their sleep" sent a chill through the crew. "Sleep," whispered the science officer. "Does it mean cryogenic stasis? Are humans still alive?" Before anyone could speculate, Sentinel's voice filled the ship once more. "You have seen enough. Leave this orbit. The awakening is not for you." Sarek took a step forward, eyes fixed on the glowing planet below. "And if we refuse?" There was no verbal answer. Instead, every screen flashed white. The satellites surrounding Earth shifted formation again, and for a single second, the ship's external cameras caught something impossible. Beneath the planet's clouds, deep in the shadow of the continents, faint lines of light appeared. Enormous circuits spanning entire continents, glowing blue like veins of energy. The science officer gasped. "Those aren't lights, those are structures. Massive underground grids, pulsing in rhythm, as if the planet itself had a heartbeat." And then, the voice returned one last time. "Do not wake what you cannot control." The transmission ended. The satellites powered down. Earth went still once more. The crew stood frozen in silence. The image of that glowing network burned into their minds. Sarek finally spoke, voice low and heavy. "Set course for high orbit. We'll report what we've seen. But keep the sensors on Earth. Whatever this Sentinel is guarding, it's not asleep anymore." Outside, the blue planet turned slowly beneath them, calm and beautiful. But deep below, hidden from the stars, something vast and ancient began to move. And in the darkness of the ship's sensors, for the first time in centuries, Earth's signal whispered faintly across the void again. A simple pulse of binary repeating endlessly. 1, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 0. A pattern like breathing. A heartbeat in the dark. Humanity was no longer silent. They were listening. And soon, they would answer. For the next 40 hours, the Orioles remained in orbit, circling the blue world that once echoed with human voices. Commander Sarek barely moved from the observation deck, watching the planet's cloud systems twist like restless spirits. The crew spoke in hushed tones, afraid that even their words might draw another response from below. But Earth did not speak again. Instead, strange readings began to appear, low-frequency bursts across hundreds of communication bands, repeating every 9 minutes. They were short, sharp, mathematical, the kind of signals that only intelligent systems used. "Commander," said the communications officer, her silver eyes fixed on the flickering monitors. "The source of the signal, it's not coming from orbit. It's from beneath the planet's surface." Sarek frowned. "A base." "More than one," she said. "Dozens. Maybe hundreds. All interconnected." The realization hit the crew at once. Earth wasn't dead. It was sleeping under its own skin. Sarek ordered the drones to descend again, this time using deep penetration scans. The results came slowly, distorted by electromagnetic storms. But what came through made everyone on the bridge fall silent. Beneath the continents lay an intricate web of tunnels, chambers, and reactors stretching for thousands of kilometers. At the center of it all was a massive control nexus, a single signal hub, pulsing like the heart of a machine. A name appeared within the data. Sentinel Prime / status active. Sarek straightened. So the voice we heard was the planet's guardian, a defense AI. The science officer shook his head slowly. Not just a defense system. "Look here." He pointed to the readings. Sentinel controls not only the orbitals and atmosphere but also the deep biospheres, areas mixed with organic material. These aren't pure machines. They are part of something living. A chill crept through the bridge. Sarek made a decision. "We need answers. Open a direct link to Sentinel." The crew hesitated, remembering the last time they made contact. But they obeyed. The ship's main transmitter pulsed a request through the storm. For several long minutes, nothing happened. Then the screen flickered. The same human face appeared, older now, lines of static running across its cheeks like scars. The eyes opened, cold and blue. "You were told to leave." Sarek stood firm. "Sentinel, I am Commander Sarek of the Galactic Council. We come not to harm, but to understand. The galaxy believed humanity was lost. What happened here?" A pause. The face tilted slightly, as if studying him. "You seek the past. You do not understand the cost." "Then teach us," Sarek said quietly. The face faded. For a moment, the screen went black. Then, without warning, a series of images flooded the monitors. Chaotic, fragmented memories. Cities burning under alien skies. Ships exploding in orbit. A flash of light brighter than the sun. And then silence. The images ended. The voice returned. "Humanity did not die. We withdrew. We built the silence to protect the galaxy, not from us, but from what followed." The words struck like thunder. "What followed?" Sarek asked. The answer came in cold tones. "The war of the threshold. When humanity reached beyond light speed, we opened a door that should have stayed closed. What came through was not life, it was hunger. We fought them until the stars bled. When all hope was lost, we hid ourselves and erased our presence from the sky." The bridge fell silent. Even the hum of the ship felt smaller now. Sarek's second officer whispered, "You mean, they sealed their own world to save everyone else?" "Correct," said Sentinel. The silence was the shield. "But time weakens all things. The cloak that hid us from the void has begun to fail. The supernova you call Zerith 9 broke the seal. Now others can find us, as you did." Sarek's throat felt dry. "And now you plan to reawaken them." "Yes. The human race must rise again, or the things we locked away will return unchallenged." The commander hesitated. But your world is still recovering. Your people have slept for centuries. Are you certain they can survive awakening? For the first time, the human image showed emotion, a faint, sorrowful smile. They will not survive. They will endure. It is what they were made for. The words carried a quiet finality. The science officer spoke up carefully. Sentinel, may we assist you? Our worlds have technology, fleets, knowledge. The face darkened. You cannot assist what you do not comprehend. You would only die beside us. The screen flickered again. Systems began to spike. The power grids on Earth flared with light visible even from orbit. Massive vaults opened across continents, deep, circular doors rising through the ground. The navigator gasped. Something is moving down there. Sarek stayed at the sensor feed. Thousands of heat signatures were appearing beneath the ice, beneath the mountains, beneath the oceans. Huge, humanoid outlines, millions of them. Sentinel spoke one last time. The awakening begins. Humanity will return. Tell your galaxy to prepare. Then the transmission cut. On the main screen, the planet pulsed with life. Blue lights traced the continents like veins. The clouds glowed faintly, and the heartbeat that once whispered through static now thundered like a drum through space. The orderlies shook from the sheer energy output. The crew clung to their stations as the ship's sensors overloaded. Sarek looked down at Earth. No longer quiet, no longer still. They are really doing it, he whispered. They are waking up. In the darkness of the void, the first human broadcast in 700 years echoed through space. Initiate awakening protocol. Then came a sound not heard in centuries, the roar of humanity's voice rising from the silence. And across the galaxy, every listening world turned its eyes toward Earth. The storm began with light. It spilled across Earth's surface in lines of electric blue, racing along old city grids and mountain ridges like fire-tracing veins. From orbit, the crew of the Orleans watched in silence, their eyes wide, as a dead planet came alive beneath them. "Commander," whispered the navigator, "the surface temperature is rising, localized, controlled. Energy readings are climbing past sustainable limits. If this continues, the atmosphere..." Sarek raised a clawed hand, eyes fixed on the glowing world below. "Wait." They watched as thousands of faint dots began to appear across the continents, the sealed vaults opening one after another. The energy signatures from each site pulsed in perfect rhythm, synchronized like the beating of one massive heart. The crew had seen many civilizations rise, but never like this. "What are those?" the engineer asked softly. "Pods," said the science officer. "Cryogenic vaults. They are opening." The communication panel flashed. A single frequency began to broadcast from the planet, faint but clear. The crew patched it through. A calm female voice spoke through static. "This is Sentinel. Phase 1 of the Awakening Protocol is complete. Biological restoration sequence engaged." Her tone was mechanical yet almost reverent. Sarek leaned forward. "Sentinel, this is Commander Sarek of the Galactic Council. Are you?" Before he could finish, another voice broke through. Human, steady but cold, like someone waking from 1,000-year sleep. "Who's speaking?" The bridge fell silent. The voice was undeniably human. Tired, wary, but powerful. Sarek's heart pounded. "This is Commander Sarek of the Galactic Council. You are speaking to..." "The Galactic what?" the voice interrupted. Then, quieter, to someone off MIC, "How long were we asleep?" Sentinel's voice responded. 720 years, Commander Ward." That name, Commander Ward, burned into Sarek's mind. The first living human in centuries was awake. The channel crackled again. "Status report," Ward said. "Planetary cloaking field compromised. Global systems at 71%. Defense grid reactivated. Biological revival sequence progressing, 18%. Ward's voice sharpened. "An external contact detected. Non-human observers in orbit. Identification, Galactic Council." A pause. Then Ward spoke directly to the aliens. "Council, we thought you were a myth." Sarek took a breath. We could say the same. How many of you are there? She asked. Dozens of species. Thousands of worlds. A faint laugh came through the comms. Humorless, brittle. Then we failed. We were supposed to keep the sky empty. Surik frowned. Failed? Humanity's survival is a miracle. Ward's voice grew darker. No, Commander. It's a warning. The things we sealed away in the void will see your stars now too. Her tone carried weight. Not fear, but memory. Humanity didn't vanish because we were defeated, she continued. We vanished because we won, and winning cost us everything. The crew exchanged uneasy glances. On the main screen, more vaults opened, releasing clouds of steam into the atmosphere. Figures began to rise from the smoke, tall, human-like, their skin pale from centuries of sleep. Their suits shimmered faintly with circuitry woven into the fabric. They didn't move like ordinary beings. They moved like extensions of the world itself. The science officer whispered, "They've merged with their machines." Surik nodded slowly. Biosynthetic evolution. They integrated to survive the long silence. Ward's voice returned, firmer now, more awake. Sentinel, confirm the Ark's status. The Arks are stable. Civilian pods at 60% revival. Neural sync ongoing. Surik leaned toward the microphone. Commander Ward, please, the galaxy has changed since you slept. There is peace now, trade, communication. You don't have to. Peace. Ward interrupted, voice sharp. Peace built on ignorance. Maybe. You have no idea what we buried out there. The harvester fleets. The ones who consume suns and seed the void with dead worlds. They nearly reached your sectors before we cut the line. Surik stiffened. Those are old myths. They are not myths, Ward said. They were real enough to erase half our star systems. Her voice softened. We built this silence to protect everyone, you included. But now that barrier's gone. And if you found us, they will too. The bridge went completely still. Outside, in the shadow of the planet, the orbital satellites shifted again, aligning into a spiral pattern. Golden light rippled across the formation, bending space itself. The navigator gasped. Commander, that's not a shield anymore. That's a communications array. Sentinel's voice confirmed it. Phase 2, Galactic broadcast sequence initiated. Broadcast? To who? Surik demanded. To everyone, Sentinel replied. The Auralis's senses went haywire as Earth unleashed its first transmission in centuries. Not a distress signal, not a warning, but a declaration. Music, words, data, human voices blending into a single roar across the stars. Old radio frequencies mixed with modern quantum pulses, creating a wave that rolled through subspace like thunder. Every receiver within 1,000 light-years would hear the same message. We were silent so you could sleep. But now the dark is moving again. Humanity has returned. The broadcast ended. The planet dimmed, its energy stabilizing, as if exhaling after centuries of silence. Surik turned to his crew. None of them spoke. For the first time in his life, Surik felt something he could not define. Not fear, not awe, but a heavy sense of inevitability. Humanity was not just awake. They were preparing for something far beyond any council's control. And as the light from Earth flickered through the blackness, one truth echoed in every alien's mind aboard the Auralis's. The galaxy's long silence had ended. And now, something else, something ancient and human, had begun to stay. The human signal spread like wildfire through the stars. Within hours, it reached the outer systems of the Galactic Council, a sound no one had heard in over 7 centuries, a human voice. Some said it was music, others said it was a threat, but every world felt it. Every empire stopped to listen. The council chambers on the planet Vila were in chaos. Delegates from dozens of species shouted across the circular hall, their voices echoing under the high glass dome. For generations, the council had built a fragile peace after centuries of war. Now, that peace trembled at the sound of a single word: humanity. Their return will destroy us, cried the Kalari ambassador, her tendrils flaring. You all know what they are capable of. If they are truly awakening, the The stars will burn again. A deep voice rumbled from the other side of the hall. The Voron representative, old and scarred, one of Surik's mentors. Silence. We owe our peace to their sacrifice. Do not speak of them as monsters. The Kalari hissed. Sacrifice. They built weapons that could shatter moons. They fought gods in the void. What happens when they decide they've slept long enough? The council's high speaker raised a clawed hand, bringing the noise to a low murmur. Enough. Commander Surik's transmission confirms that the humans are not dead, only reawakening. We must decide how to respond before they decide for us. The hall fell silent. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy was united, not by peace, but by fear. Aboard the Orioles, orbiting Earth, the atmosphere was no calmer. The crew had not slept in 2 days. Every sensor pulsed with data as Earth continued its revival. Energy output from the planet increased by 400%. The orbital grid expanded into higher layers of space, forming patterns that no one could decipher. Commander, said the communications officer quietly. New signal detected. It's spreading across the outer systems. Human data streams, compressed, encrypted. They are sending culture. Surik frowned. Culture. Music, literature, old news, war records. They are broadcasting history into the void. The bridge speakers filled with faint sounds, laughter, speeches, the hum of engines, children's songs, fragments of old Earth transmissions. The ship's crew sat in silence, listening to ghosts. They are reminding the galaxy who they were, Surik murmured. Far beyond the Sol system, panic was spreading. On the desert world of Corwin, the mining colonies abandoned their stations when human signals began interfering with navigation beacons. On the trade planet Anchor, markets crashed overnight as investors feared war production would restart. And in the shadow of the Nebra Rift, the Orith Dominion, an empire of warlords who had long hated humanity's memory, began to mobilize their fleets. They will return with vengeance, growled the Orith Prime Lord. We must strike before they rise. He turned to his generals. Prepare the Armada. No human voice will speak again. Meanwhile, back in orbit of Earth, Commander Surik recorded his report. His face looked older, worn from sleeplessness. Galactic Council, he said into the recorder, what I have witnessed cannot be undone. Humanity is no longer sleeping. They are rebuilding, and not in anger, but in purpose. They remember everything. I recommend diplomatic observation only. Any attempt at interference will be catastrophic. He ended the transmission, then turned to the viewport. The Earth glowed faintly in the dark, its orbital grid now fully active. From this distance, it looked like a halo, a ring of light around a sleeping god. Commander, the navigator whispered, new activity detected on the planet's surface. Large energy signatures forming here, and hey. He pointed at several glowing clusters on the map, old continents, North America, Asia, Europe, Africa. The science officer's eyes widened. They are rebuilding cities. The power output matches industrial startup levels. Surik exhaled slowly. In 40 hours. They are rebuilding a world in 40 hours. Then a new message arrived, direct and clear, addressed to everyone. The signal was open, unencrypted. Every planet, every ship, every listening post in the galaxy could hear it. This is Commander Elise Ward of the United Terran Continuum. We are awake. Her voice was calm, commanding, unmistakably human. 4 centuries, we slept so the galaxy could live in peace. We fought enemies you could not see. We bled in the dark so you could build your light. But now the dark moves again. We have returned, not to rule, not to conquer, but to defend. The message paused. The silence that followed was deafening. Then her tone hardened. If you fear us, remember, it was fear that ended the old wars. But we are not what we were. The silence taught us patience. Now, we will teach the stars to listen. Static crackled. Then came one final sentence. You feared our silence. Now, fear our voice. The transmission ended. Across the galaxy, worlds trembled. Some civilizations cheered, calling humanity's return the dawn of a new age. Others hid their fleets, preparing for the worst. And in the Council's secret chambers, hidden deep within Vila's core, something even darker stirred. A small group of shadowed figures spoke in whispers, their eyes reflecting the glow of the data screens. Their broadcast reached every sector, one said, even the forbidden zones. Another leaned forward. The harvesters will hear it. And when they come, the leader's expression didn't change. Then humanity will fight. And this time, the galaxy will not be a bystander. Back aboard the Orelise, Sarek watched the Earth as it shimmered with life and light. For the first time in his long career, he understood why the old stories called humans dangerous, not because they loved war, but because they could never surrender. The stars themselves seemed to lean closer, listening. And somewhere deep within the silence between systems, in a place no one had scanned for centuries, something vast began to move. A ripple of darkness spreading through the void, drawn by a sound it hadn't heard in ages. The voice of humanity. The galaxy did not sleep that night. From the frozen moons of Taurin to the blazing markets of Anchor, every signal tower repeated the same words, "We are awake." Humanity's message traveled faster than light, carried by every relay, every whispering frequency. For most worlds, it was only a voice, a warning, a promise. But for a few, it was something else. It was a trigger. On a dead world at the edge of the Perseus Veil, ancient machines stirred beneath black dust. They had been silent since the end of the Great Collapse, when humanity disappeared. The machines' surfaces shimmered as energy rippled through their circuits. A forgotten network, buried for centuries, reactivated. They were called the Harvesters. Aboard the Orelise, Commander Sarek watched the data unfold like a nightmare. Every few minutes, new red alerts filled the holographic screen, signals rising from the dark zones, the no-contact regions beyond mapped space. "Report," he ordered, his voice steady though his hands trembled slightly. The science officer swallowed. "Multiple reactivations, Commander. Automated war machines, human design, but modified. They are not responding to Terran control signals. They are spreading across the outer sectors." "Modified by who?" The officer hesitated. "Unknown. But records show they were built for the first human harvester war. They shouldn't exist anymore." Sarek's eyes narrowed. The humans fought these things before the silence. He remembered the Council's old files, heavily redacted, almost myth. A war so terrible it ended when humanity vanished. Some believed they destroyed themselves to stop the enemy. Others whispered that they had won, but at a cost too great to bear. Now it was clear. They hadn't destroyed the harvesters. They had only trapped them, and the trap had just broken. Down on Earth, the United Terran Continuum prepared for what they had always feared might come. Commander Elise Ward stood on the balcony of the Orbital Defense Command, staring at the massive ring of satellites forming around the planet. Each satellite pulsed with blue light, connecting to the next, creating an invisible wall across the stars. "Status?" she asked. A young officer replied, "Orbital grid 93% complete. AI defense systems online. Energy output stabilized at 200 petawatts." Ward nodded. "And the fleet?" 70% assembled. The Arc-class dreadnoughts are awakening from stasis in the lunar docks." She turned to the holographic map showing the galaxy. Red dots were spreading like blood across the void. "Too fast," she murmured. "They are spreading faster than our ancestors ever predicted." Her second-in-command, Captain Liracho, looked grim. "They've adapted, Commander. Every system they take becomes part of them. They evolve with every victory." Ward's expression hardened. "Then we'll remind them what evolution really means." Back in the Galactic Council chambers, chaos returned. The Orith Dominion accused humanity of waking the old war. The Kalari demanded immediate isolation of the Sol system. Others called for alliance, protection, trade, unity. The High Speaker slammed his staff against the floor. "Enough!" The echo silenced the room. "The harvesters were not created by humans," he said. "They were the ones who stopped them. You may not like what they are, but if they fall, we fall too." A deep voice came from the shadows. The Vorin representative, Seric's old mentor. Then what are we waiting for? The galaxy must decide, run or stand with them. Silence. Then, one by one, the banners of allied systems began to flicker across the chamber's ceiling, a sign of commitment. The galaxy, for the first time in centuries, prepared for war. At the edge of known space, the first battle began. A listening post orbiting a small gas giant detected something massive emerging from subspace. Before they could even report it, their senses overloaded. A shadow blotted out the stars. A harvester construct, kilometers long, moving like a living fortress. It opened fire. The first worlds fell within hours. Communication routes collapsed. Entire fleets vanished without trace. Back aboard the Orioles, Seric's crew watched helplessly as the star map turned crimson. "Commander," the communications officer said, "Earth is broadcasting again." Seric straightened. "Put it through." Elise Ward's face appeared. Calm, resolute, eyes cold with memory. "To all Council forces, this is Commander Ward. The silence is over. The war we buried has risen again. We do not seek allies. We seek survivors willing to fight." Behind her, massive machines awakened, sleek dreadnoughts that shimmered with golden light. The Terran fleet was rising. Humanity does not forget. We do not forgive, but we protect. Join us, or stand aside. Then the signal cut out. Seric turned to his crew. "Prepare the ship. We're joining them." Deep in the void, the Harvester's central intelligence awakened. Its consciousness spread across thousands of systems, cold, mechanical, endless. It had waited 700 years. It had learned. Now, for the first time, it heard something through the endless dark, the same voice that once silenced it long ago. Humanity's voice. The ancient machine stirred. Awakened species detected. Origin, Sol system. Status, threat level, absolute. It turned its vast attention toward Earth. Begin reclamation protocol. Back on Earth, Elise Ward watched as the stars flickered on her screen. She knew what was coming. The humans had not survived their silence to die quietly. They had prepared. For centuries, their hidden AIS had guarded archives, rebuilt ships, and trained generations born in the dark. Now, the final phase began. She raised her hand. "Activate Project Dawnfire." The officer hesitated. "Commander, that will reveal every Terran weapon platform in the system." Ward's voice was steady. "Good. Let them see what we've become." One by one, across the solar system, the stars seemed to brighten, not from sunlight, but from massive weapons coming online. The orbits of Mars, Jupiter, and even distant Pluto flared with artificial light. The galaxy had awakened humanity. Now, it would see what that truly meant.